The 19th century was a world changing faster than anyone could predict. New lands were explored, railroads crisscrossed nations, and industrial power surged like a rising storm. But in the midst of this progress, danger traveled just as quickly. Soldiers marched into new kinds of battles, and ordinary people journeyed into untamed frontiers where conflict could erupt in a heartbeat. A single shot was no longer enough. The old muskets and pistols that fired once and demanded lengthy reloading left men vulnerable. A hesitation could cost a life. Armies craved faster firepower, explorers demanded protection, and lawmen needed a weapon that could match the rising chaos. The world was waiting for a breakthrough, a weapon that could fire again and again and again without pause or fear. The need had never been greater. The question was, who would create it? Until then, guns were designed with craftsmanship, but not speed. After every shot came a frustrating break, powder poured, bullet placed, hammer cocked, each step a desperate plea that danger would wait. But danger rarely waited. Whether in war or wilderness, survival often depended on seconds. Men with muskets were found reloading while their enemies had already struck. And even when multi-barrel weapons emerged, they were heavy, complicated, and unreliable. Gunsmiths knew the problem, yet few dared attempt a solution. Making one weapon with multiple shots was difficult enough. Making thousands identical and dependable, that sounded impossible. The era lacked machines that could produce perfectly matching parts. Everything was carved and shaped by hand. Firearms were personal works of art, but art wasn't enough for a world racing toward the future. A new kind of thinking was required, a mind both inventive and fearless. That mind was already growing inside a young dreamer named Samuel Colt. Samuel Colt looked at guns differently. He didn't just want to add more barrels, he wanted a machine in your hand. A weapon that rotated each time the trigger or hammer was pulled, bringing a fresh bullet into perfect alignment with the barrel. No stopping, no reloading, just pure, powerful continuity. A revolver. It sounds simple now, but back then it was radical. Colt imagined a circular cylinder with chambers that spun like the helm of a ship. Inspiration struck him as a teenager sailing the seas, the rotating wheel of the ship pushing him toward destiny. However, the concept alone wasn't enough. To make this weapon practical, every part needed to be precisely shaped, interchangeable, and identical from gun to gun. But in a time when each firearm part was hand-fitted, the idea of mass-producing a fully functional revolver seemed absurd. People laughed. Investors turned away. Craftsmen doubted machinery could ever replace the hand of a master gunsmith. But Colt didn't care about their doubt. He saw the future, and it had a rotating chamber. What began as a curiosity would soon redefine warfare, industry, and American innovation. Samuel Colt knew that if he could bring his revolver into a factory, if machines could reproduce each part with precision, then firearms could be built faster, more reliably, and more affordably than ever. He wasn't merely creating a weapon. He was creating a system, the first true mass production model in American firearms history. As conflict grew in the American West and armies prepared for new wars, Colt's invention was exactly what the world needed. His revolvers proved themselves in battle and survival alike. Soldiers fired multiple shots without pause. Frontiersmen defended themselves and their land. Lawmen gained courage knowing their weapon wouldn't fail mid-danger. Demand exploded, and Colt's dream became a global business empire. The world had mocked his ambitions, now it lined up at his factory gates. Samuel Colt had forged more than a gun. He had forged a revolution. One that would echo through every battlefield, every frontier, and every factory that followed. The era of mass-produced firearms had begun because one man refused to accept that a single shot was enough. Samuel Colt was born in 1814 in Hartford, Connecticut, a curious child in a world still learning how machines could shape the future. While other children found joy in simple games, young Sam found joy in taking things apart. Knives, clocks, farm tools, nothing was safe from his eager hands. He wanted to know how things moved, why gears turned, and what secrets lay inside every mechanical creation. His father, a textile manufacturer, tried to discipline him for his destructive curiosity, but even anger couldn't stop Sam's hunger to learn. Every disassembled object was a new lesson. He learned that every part mattered, every motion had purpose, ideas that would one day fuel an invention the world had never seen. Even as a boy, Samuel Colt wasn't trying to break things. He was trying to understand them. Sam's childhood was a blend of rebellion and brilliance. Mischievous behavior often pushed his teachers to the edge, yet even in trouble, his mind was always creating. At just 16 years old, he set sail on a merchant ship to escape the limits of ordinary life. There in the rolling waves of the ocean, destiny revealed itself. Sam watched the ship's steering wheel rotate, locking into position with each spoke, a mechanical rotation perfectly aligning a new point of direction. Suddenly, Sam saw not a wheel, but a weapon, a rotating cylinder, each turn lining up a new chamber ready to fire. The sea had given him a design that no gunsmith had ever imagined. When he returned to land, Sam began carving wooden models of his idea, a revolver with multiple chambers. He took these models to craftsmen and investors, but skepticism followed everywhere he went. They dismissed him as a dreamer, too young and too bold to understand real firearms. But Sam did not need approval. He needed a chance. He believed that if his mind could envision something, machines could build it. Brilliance rarely comes without turbulence. Colt's young adult years were battles of ambition versus failure. He launched traveling demonstrations, pretending to be a scientific wonder worker, performing electrifying chemistry shows to raise money. Some admired his showmanship, others called him strange. He created underwater explosives, improved fireworks, and experimented endlessly. But when he finally patented his first revolver in 1836, his excitement crashed into cold reality. The world wasn't ready. The US Army rejected his designs, factories closed. Colt went bankrupt before he could truly begin. His family struggled to understand why he wouldn't give up. But Sam Colt was not fighting for money or fame. He was fighting for a future only he could see. His revolver was not just a gun, it was the solution to a global problem, and he would not let it die. In the midst of hardship, Colt was shaped by powerful personal relationships. He found love in Elizabeth Jarvis, a woman who understood his restless spirit and stood beside him when the world doubted him most. Their marriage brought stability to his chaotic life, grounding the storm of invention with warmth and understanding. Even during the darkest moments, bankruptcy, crushed dreams, and the heartbreaking loss of his brother, Elizabeth encouraged him to continue forward. When Colt became a father, a new fire was lit within him. Failure was no longer an option. He now built not just for himself, but for a family that depended on him. He dreamed of a home where his children would live prosperously because of the weapon he had imagined long ago at sea. Family gave him purpose, love gave him strength, and tragedy hardened his resolve. Colt realized the world might laugh at him, but it wouldn't stop him. His revolver was needed, and he would prove it. With renewed determination and a reborn vision, Colt prepared to rise again. The boy who once took apart everything around him would now assemble one of history's greatest achievements, a factory that could build revolvers faster than the world could buy them. His journey toward mass production and immortality was about to begin. Samuel Colt had a revolutionary design, but revolutions rarely arrive to applause. His first manufacturing venture in Paterson, New Jersey, ended in disaster. The world still trusted tradition, flintlocks, muskets, slow and familiar reloads. Colt's revolving pistols were called impossible, dangerous, unnecessary. Soldiers tested them, but commanders feared new technology. Money vanished. Workers left. Machines fell silent. Colt's factory closed its doors, and creditors swarmed like crows to a meal. Colt stood alone, one man against a world unwilling to change. Yet in that silence, he refused defeat. He learned that invention alone wasn't enough. The world must feel need. And that need would soon arrive. The American frontier was becoming rougher by the day, and a reliable multi-shot firearm would soon become not just wanted, but demanded. Colt watched the world shift around him. Out west, Texas Rangers battled threats where a single shot could mean death. They returned with stories Colt revolvers had saved their lives. Newspapers printed praise, and demand began to flicker once more. Colt knew exactly what he needed to do: create the first factory capable of producing identical revolvers at rapid speed. This wasn't about crafting weapons one at a time. This was engineering the future of manufacturing. Colt studied the ideas of the emerging industrial revolution: steam power, machine tools, and metal-cutting precision. He imagined factories where every screw and spring rolled off machines like clockwork, parts so perfectly identical that one could replace another without filing or fitting. He believed consistency was the new craftsmanship, and he vowed to build a factory where innovation would never sleep. In Hartford, Connecticut, standing tall by the Connecticut River, Colt's patent firearms manufacturing company roared to life. Inside it, a relentless rhythm echoed: metal shaping, cylinders cutting, hammers forging. This was not a gunsmith's workshop. This was a machine orchestra where every worker had a specific task, a piece of a relentless chain of creation. Precision measuring tools ensured every part matched the next. Interchangeable components meant one revolver could be assembled in minutes rather than hours. Colt even introduced an unheard-of concept: employee training and specialization. Workers didn't just build, they mastered. The factory grew with pride and discipline. Visitors from Europe traveled just to witness the miracle of American mass production. They left stunned. The Colt factory was a glimpse of the future: industry powered by repeatability, efficiency, and innovation. Colt's factory turned imagination into reality, metal into miracles. And soon, his revolvers weren't just weapons, they were a symbol, a badge of survival, a promise of strength. Opportunity knocked loudly in 1847. The Mexican-American War erupted. Soldiers needed reliable firepower. The U.S. Army remembered Colt, and he delivered. His revolvers became legendary on the battlefield: fast, fierce, unstoppable. Cowboys, sheriffs, gold hunters, and pioneers rushed westward with Colt firearms holstered at their sides. The Colt name spread like wildfire across the frontier. Soon, the world took notice. Orders from Europe arrived. Famous figures, generals, kings, and explorers demanded a Colt at their hip. His factory expanded, machines multiplied, and nights turned into dawns without slowing production. Samuel Colt had done it. He had conquered doubt. He had conquered markets. He had conquered time itself through speed of creation. From bankruptcy to empire, from rejection to glory, his revolver became not only a weapon, but a technological revolution. Mass production wasn't just a method, it was a movement. And Colt led it with the steady hands of a man who never let go of his dream. He had changed how the world armed itself and how the world manufactured everything. The era of industrial precision had truly begun. At the heart of Colt's genius was a simple but game-changing idea: the rotating cylinder. Most guns could only fire once before requiring a tedious reload. But Colt's revolver, it carried multiple bullets at once, ready, waiting, and perfectly aligned with the barrel with each pull of the hammer. Here's how it worked. The shooter pulled back the hammer. Inside the mechanism, a clever lever called a pawl pushed against notches in the cylinder, making it rotate to the next chamber. At the same moment, the hammer locked the cylinder into perfect position, ready to fire. Precision engineering made sure that each chamber lined up flawlessly: no misfire, no delay, one motion, one shot after another. Speed and confidence in the palm of a hand. This mechanism redefined combat and survival. A single person now held the firepower of an entire squad of musketeers, and that changed everything. Before Colt, firearms were crafted individually by gunsmiths. Each piece was shaped by hand. If a part broke, only the original artisan could fix it slowly. No two guns were exactly alike. Colt shattered that limitation. He believed machines could carve parts more consistently than any human hand. So he designed special machines to cut metal pieces to exact measurements: screws, springs, trigger parts, cylinders, all identical, all interchangeable. This meant fast repairs, consistent quality, endless scalability. If a revolver needed maintenance on the battlefield, a soldier didn't need a craftsman. He simply replaced the malfunctioning part with a new one. No tools, no delays. No problem, this wasn't just innovation. This was the blueprint of modern manufacturing. Cars, planes, phones, all would follow Colt's method. Colt's factory ran like a finely tuned revolver itself. Each worker specialized in one task: drilling, shaping, polishing, assembling, all contributing to a synchronized flow of creation. The process looked like this. Raw steel arrived at the factory, machines cut each piece to precise measurements, inspectors checked parts for accuracy, workers assembled revolvers from a bin of perfectly matching components. The finished gun was polished, tested, and stamped, shipped into the hands of customers across the world. Colt also believed in training workers to become masters of their specific roles. He paid well, provided housing, and even built a community, Colt's Village, complete with a riverfront mansion and elegant gardens. People didn't just work there, they lived their lives there. The factory became a symbol of pride, a place where technology and humanity built a new future together. Colt's methods brought guns to the world faster than ever before, thousands per month, eventually millions in years to come. Samuel Colt didn't just improve firearms, he ignited a manufacturing revolution. His mass production model would be studied, copied, and expanded in every major industry, thanks to his vision. The Industrial Revolution accelerated machines, replaced slow handcrafting, modern assembly lines were born, uniform precision became the new standard. Colt proved that progress is powered not just by invention, but by the ability to reproduce invention at scale. His revolvers shaped history, carried by cowboys who tamed the American West, trusted by soldiers on battlefields, held by explorers crossing dangerous frontiers, symbol of personal protection in uncertain times, even decades after Colt's death. His factories continued producing improved revolver models, his dream living far beyond him. Today, every device we use, from smartphones to cars, is built on the same core principle he pioneered: interchangeable parts and systematic production. Samuel Colt changed not just how we fight, but how we build, how we innovate, and how we progress. His journey began with questions: why reload every time? Why must every part be unique? Why not trust machines to help us? And he answered them with a legacy etched in steel and history. God made men, but Samuel Colt made them equal. A quote spoken by many, symbolizing the world-changing influence of his invention. From a curious boy who dismantled tools to the man who armed civilization with progress, Colt did not just create a revolver. He created a revolution.